Hello everyone, and welcome to another exciting interview by Financial Insight. So we're on day one of the Energy Forum for Africa, and we have a special guest who just came fresh off a panel discussion that was discussing issues around the Compact Mission 330. But she's going to tell us a little bit about that. But my guest is obviously somebody who is a friend of Financial Insight. She is actually in proximity to the presidency, and by coincidence, the president did speak this morning, and he gave his keynote speech that pretty much opened up proceedings for this particular event. Chipokota Mwanawasa, thank you for coming to the Financial Insight Show.
Thank you very much for having me, Mwelwa.
I know this is your first one, and for some, maybe some actually know what you actually do. We do know that you're a special advisor to the president, but are you able to just share at a very high level what exactly you do for a living?
So as you've already said, my name is Chipokota Mwanawasa. I'm the policy advisor to the President of Zambia. And I was also the deputy head of the Presidential Delivery Unit for the first 2 years of its setting up, so from inception. So I was critical and actually instrumental and critical to putting it together, and served as deputy head of the delivery unit for the first two years. So I am quite conversant of policy, from policy formation, development, all the way to implementation, and now I've gone back completely at State House, but still overseeing a lot of the delivery work, and energy is of no exception.
Absolutely, and obviously this being the Energy Forum for Africa, the second one, we were at the 2024 edition, where the president actually made a promise that he would, come for the second edition, and true to his word, he's actually appeared. Are you able to just share with us, because we also know that you had this Africa Compact and Mission 300 panel discussion, which interesting enough, you were actually the one that was moderating, because Financial Insight is so used to seeing you being one of the panelists. Are you able to share how the president's speech and this particular panel discussion kind of like spoke to each other?
Yes, so I think the first thing to highlight is that energy is a top priority sector for the president. This can be seen not just from his commitment to overseeing projects and officiating events like the Energy Africa Forum, but also energy sits as a key pillar in government, and also the various units such as the Public-Private Dialogue Forum and the Presidential Delivery Unit as a priority area. And this is because without energy, there is very little we can do in terms of development in the country. It is actually, for lack of a better metaphor, it's like the blood in our body. Without energy, we are not alive. So without blood, we're not alive, and without energy, we're not alive as a country. So it's a critical priority area. And from his speech earlier today, he spoke, first of all, of how committed he is to the sector, starting with the very bold policy reforms that the government has embarked on, led by himself and his vision, in leading on reforms, not only in the country, but also in the region. So we have seen the promotion of independent power producers, independent power traders, the open access regime, introduction of net metering, all this which is fostering attraction to investment in the energy sector, to enable us have more energy production, more energy accessibility in the country as well. So all these huge and bold policy reforms have also included working towards multi-year cost-reflective tariff, which also incentivizes the investors to want to come to Zambia. You ask now, how does this tie in with the panel I was just moderating, which was delivering the Zambian Energy Compact and the Mission 300. That ties in very well, because on that panel we had various partners who are involved, to see Zambia accelerate its production and access to energy, such as Sustainable Energy for All, SE for All, GAP, Africa Development Bank, the Rockefeller Foundation, were all part of that panel. And these are partners that are helping Zambian private sector and government projects have bankable projects that are ready for financing, and also helping us propel or accelerate access to finance globally, and also on the continent, particularly Africa Development Bank and the World Bank are leading on this initiative. What does Mission 300 stand for, and who's behind it? It is our program, Zambia, just like all the other individual African countries that are involved. So Mission 300 is actually mission to have increased access for African people with a target of 300 million people. So that is what is that Mission 300, and it's to achieve that target by 2030, which is not very far from where we are. So basically, in 5 years' time, we should have had another extra 300 million people have access to power. Now, if you heard the president very carefully in the morning, he said he thinks that target is not ambitious enough. He said for a growing population on the continent that's going to reach over 1 billion, if we're not yet there already, that is not a good enough ambition. We should be talking about universal access. So universal access not only for Zambia but on the continent as a whole, because which person is going to want to be left out? Correct. We all want to be in the 300 million, so we might as well focus on universal access and target that everyone should have access to electricity, to energy. And that's why I said initially that electricity is like the blood, it's the blood system of the body. Without it, we are not alive.
Right, absolutely. Now, what's also very interesting was that, the panel discussion that you moderated was carefully selected. Obviously, there were certain key, takeaways that you got from each of the different panelists. Are you able to just give us at a high level one or two out of each of the panelists, and what resonated with you, and what gives you hope that, yes, even with the, the presidential, sort of insight around what we should be targeting actually spoke to that belief system?
So I'll just give a few highlights. I think from the development bank system, so AFDB in particular was very keen on prioritizing. There's so much out there, there's a lot to do, but you can't do everything at the same time, otherwise you end up doing nothing. So prioritizing was very key. Can we prioritize, what's most important, what's low-hanging fruit, what we can deliver immediately, and have a structured plan of what's the next year of priority for the medium to long term. Beyond prioritizing the projects, also how do we prioritize financing? Because this financing is not only from the development banks, it's not only from the private sector, but ourselves as government as well. So how do we prioritize funding for these various projects? Over and above saying we're prioritizing funding for the energy sector as a whole. From GIAP in particular and Rockefeller, I think what came through in particular was innovative financing models. So we've seen some of these with some of the projects that have already been implemented. Our utilities making very good strides to come out of the doldrums, this past doldrums. But because of where it is, sometimes investors are not very comfortable to go with the public utility as an off-taker, because we're still rebuilding that trust and credibility that the utility will pay. And we have been making those payments. The debts at ZESCO have reduced significantly. But because of the innovative financing models, you now have independent power traders, and these were the reforms I was talking about. Correct. The independent power traders who basically guarantee offtake, sometimes even pay in advance, or put skin in the game in basically helping develop some of these projects. So Chisamba 100 megawatts is a very good example of that. So we had an independent power trader in the name of Greenco who had an offtake client in the name of FQM, and then you have financiers, both the private sector, ZESCO itself, and Stanbic, who basically were willing to risk financing, knowing that there is a credible trader and off-taker that will pay the project back. And that's how we raised the required resources for Chisamba 100 megawatts, which is, I think, a nice centerpiece to show what GAP and Rockefeller is helping other developers in the pipeline sort of create these models. And then you then had Sustainable Energy for All, which is SE for All, which is also another key partner. They have a team on ground in Zambia. Their role is critical in coordinating all these partners, so bringing everybody together, making sure everyone is aligned with what we're trying to achieve, making sure that we all have the same list of priority projects, helping us be accountable, in terms of timelines, etc. And that tallies or works very well with the Presidential Delivery Unit, who was one. We also had a panelist there who shows you that the president has created a special unit to oversee all this work and make sure that we meet all the deadlines and we see project implementation. In addition to the Presidential Delivery Unit, although there was no one on the panel from this because it's very new, the World Bank and AFDB are supporting us in creating a compact delivery unit. So we are even going to get into to be more granular. So there'll just be a unit just focused on these energy projects. So whilst the PDU has got several priorities, mining, energy, agriculture, there will be just a compact delivery unit focused on ensuring that the projects under the Mission 300 basically come to fruition. It might also be of interest that we're trying to raise over $9 billion for the Zambia Energy Compact for us from the Mission 300 pool of funds, which is mostly from the private sector around the world.
Right. Now that's a very, very, very insightful. Obviously, just on a final note, this being the second edition of Energy Forum for Africa, are you able to just share with us, what it means for, the president participating yet again and keeping his promise, to coming to this particular event? And, obviously going forward, what, if you have any remarks, to just wish, the organizers of this event to encourage them further to continue with such, engagements, because we have spoken to several delegates who of obviously using this event as deal-making platforms, as it were. And I think one thing that Hope, Engineer Hope, the convener of the event, said is, as opposed to this event being a talking shop, we want to see action. So what are your sentiments around that?
I think having President Hakainde Hichilema grace this event is a strong demonstration of his commitment to Zambia as energy sector, that he wants it to thrive and do well, that he's relying on the private sector as key partners to government to help on the delivery of more energy production, not just to be energy sufficient in the country, but to have energy surplus as well for export for the region. He's committed to being a leader and a model for the region and also the continent as a whole of how we can transform African lives in making sure that we have universal access for our people, and universal access to energy, not just for lighting our homes, but universal access that actually transforms lives for business, small or big enterprise, etc. So I think having him present here is a significant demonstration of his commitment to that. In terms of the Energy Africa Forum as a whole, it ties in very well with that partnership the president is trying to nurture, in that someone from the private sector, a young woman, has picked up the challenge from the president and decided to create this platform. And it's not the Zambia Energy Forum. It's the Energy Forum, it's the Energy Africa Forum.
Correct.
It's for the continent. So you can see that she's picked up the challenge in that the country, Zambia, is going to be a leading example. I would actually like to challenge Hope to take this forum to another country. Why can't Botswana, for instance, host it next year? Why can't Mozambique, who was here with us, South Africa, Zimbabwe, you name it, maybe even in West Africa, since it's an African platform. So I think the challenge to the team behind this great initiative is for us to see it being hosted in other countries, and us being the pioneers will definitely be there to actually show even more of how it's been critical in delivering projects. So we've heard there are so many projects, deals that have been signed from this forum. Chisamba itself is a good example that it started as a discussion from this forum last year, and we've delivered. The president is very keen. He's been heard several times saying, why is there only 100 megawatts Chisamba? There should have been 10 of those by now. So I think now that the example has been set of what's possible, we've tested, you know, the innovative financing models, it's now up to us to show that we can scale some of these projects. Let's do 300, 500 megawatt solar plants.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Chipokota Mwanawasa, thank you so much for gracing our show.
Thank you very much, Mwelwa. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So you've heard it for yourself. We've been speaking to Chipokota Mwanawasa, who has shared with us key insights, not only from the president's speech, but as well as her panel discussion that was on day one of the Energy Forum for Africa. So stay tuned for more insights as we continue to interview high-profile delegates at the second edition of EFA. I've been your host, Mwelwa Chibesakunda, and as we always say at Financial Insight, get to know.